Jefferson Franklin Long. Born March 3, 1836. He was the second person of African descent to be sworn into the U.S. House of Representatives. He is the first black American congressman to be seated by Georgia. Jefferson Long was born a slave, his mother was a slave and his father was white. He taught himself to read and write. Shortly after the Civil War, Long married Lucinda Carhart, and they raised 7 children. He became a merchant tailor after his emancipation following the end of the Civil War. Most of his clients were white. One of Long's sons helped run his business. Starting in 1866, Long began promoting literacy among African Americans, and in 1867, he became active in the Georgia Educational Association, formed to protect and advance the interests of freedmen. In 1869 he was the chief organizer of the Georgia Labor Convention. He used this platform to encourage African American agricultural workers to demand fair wages. He was a member of the Macon Union League, which was a grassroots political action group. Jefferson Long encouraged blacks to vote Republican and led a march to polling station. Was met by armed whites, which resulted in a riot. Most blacks were turned back without voting. Jefferson Long was successfully elected as Republican to fill a vacancy. Served from January 16, 1871 to March 3, 1871, although he was elected December 1870. Whites accused blacks of voting multiple times and allowing blacks to vote in Georgia even though they were citizens of bordering states. He was seated after a delay due to Georgia readmission to Union issues. Congressman Long was the first African American representative to speak on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. He rose in opposition to the Amnesty Bill, a bill meant to exempt former Confederates serving in the House from swearing allegiance to the Constitution. If this House removes the disabilities of disloyal men, Long warned, I venture to prophesy you will again have trouble from the very same men who gave you trouble before. Northern newspapers praised his orator skills, while Southern newspapers accused him of maliciously disenfranchising whites with his speech. His opposition failed, however, and the bill was approved by the House 118 to 90 and 2 weeks later became a law without President Grant's signature. Long's term in office expired less than 1 month later. White supremacy ended Reconstruction and black political participation. Georgia wouldn't have another black congressman until Andrew Young in 1972. After leaving Congress on March 3, 1871, Long returned to his tailoring business in Macon. Although he remained active in politics, he never again ran for public office, recognizing that the white-controlled Georgia government had shut blacks out of politics. He campaigned for Republican candidates in 1872 and served as a member of the Southern Republican Convention in 1874 and as a delegate to the Republican National Conventions from 1872 to 1880. Long eventually became frustrated by white Republican leaders' failure to protect black Southerners. By the late 1870s, he began encouraging African Americans to vote for independent Democrats if Republican candidates proved unsatisfactory. Political upheaval and sharp racial division in all the political parties had so disillusioned Long by the mid-1880s that he left politics permanently to focus on his business. However, his reputation as a radical politician eventually cost him his affluent white clientele. Unable to survive on the income from his tailor shop, he started other businesses, including a liquor store and a dry cleaning shop. He remained self-employed until his death in Macon on February 4, 1901. Died, February 4, 1901 at the age of 64, first African American to speak from the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives, first African American elected to represent Georgia in U.S. House of Representatives, led voters' march to polling station, promoted African American literacy program. He was a major figure in black history, black politics, and the Republican Party. Please, click the like button so that others may find this information. Press the subscribe button if you would like to see more postings like this one. And lastly, post in the comment box what interested you the most about Jefferson Franklin Long's American story.